Hi, love.
Hi, everyone. We are here with Amy Bassili from Bassili Law. And Amy is a lawyer. She's an entrepreneur and a leader who is really known, I think, my opinion, but for being a heart centered leader, value based practice in an industry that really isn't known for being, emotionally intelligent. I mean, I don't think when we think lawyer necessarily, we think, someone who supports their team, someone who has strong values and applies those with their team and with others and with their clients. So I'm so excited for today. I'm have such a big girl crush on Amy, and I'm just really excited for you all to get to know her. So today we're gonna just ask her some questions about her story and her life, about how she redefined success for herself and some of the big strides she's made in her career. And we're going to go from there. So, Amy, why don't you take a second to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Amy. I'm a lawyer, I'm a litigator, civil litigator. I've been practicing for about 20 years. Based out of Edmonton, born and bred in Edmonton, studied at University of Alberta, and started my employment law boutique about 3.5 years ago.
Awesome. Awesome. And so it wouldn't be Ambition After Hours if we didn't do our high and our low. So, Britt, why don't you start us off today?
Oh, yes. Okay. Can my high and my low be the same thing?
I mean, there
I'll
are no
tell you
rules on this
why.
podcast.
Okay, I don't know what it is about February. It's like everyone kind of like slow start to January. Now February's here and it's like hit the ground running at like 150 miles an hour. I don't know what's going on, but it's been my busiest month in the first 6 days as like all year, which super thankful for. I appreciate it. But also my low because I'm like doing a million things. I feel like I have a million things on the go. And then, you have staff that, personal days or sick days and you're like, "Stop, just everybody, all hands on deck right now." So I think that like not to cop out, right? But I think that is my high is like I'm having a really great month and I love to be busy and I appreciate it and I'm thankful for it. But on like the flip side, I'm like running like a chicken with my head cut off right now.
I definitely know how that could be for sure. But this
Yeah.
is the only time you get to use the same one. I'm gonna say there are rules. Next time it needs to
Listen,
be Brit.
listen, Miss Microsoft. I'm allowed to use that because you talked about Microsoft for like 4 episodes.
That's true. I did complain about Outlook repeatedly for a very long period of time.
Exactly. But let's go to you then. Tell me your high, your low.
I'm gonna start with my high. So I am not a person who sleeps well. Sleep is not something that comes natural to me, and if there's one thing that just makes me so jealous about my husband in particular is he could sleep anywhere at any time for any reason like this, and I should be like so happy for him, but actually I used to find it so irritating. But lately I've been sleeping like a rock star. Well, maybe the opposite of a rock star. Coming home, going to bed at 8 o'clock and falling asleep and staying asleep for the whole night. I did not realize how much I loved sleep. And lately, I usually have a hard time going to bed because, you don't really have that much time, particularly when it's busy season for me between when I'm done work and when and like the personal time that comes before I have to go to bed. So I've always had a lot of time in there. I do a lot of negotiating. Oh, one more episode or one more chapter, one more whatever, so that I feel like I get my personal time. But for the last, I want to say week, maybe more, there's been none of that. I crave sleep. I go to bed and I sleep like a rock star. I don't know what changed, but I don't want to jinx it because my whole life I have not been a sleeper. And all of a sudden, maybe it's like osmosis, but all of a sudden now I'm sleeping
Okay,
like
so what
all
are
the
you
time.
doing differently every day to get that sleep?
Well, part of it could be because I injured my foot, I was thinking, which is my low. Um, I have this weird burning sensation in the bottom of my leg, and it's quite painful. And apparently, I pinched some sort of nerve because one of my hips is so uptight. Surprising because I'm so chill. So uptight that it's pissing off the entire rest of my leg and making it feel like it's on fire. And so whenever I do anything, I feel quite tired. So I've been coming home, and at work I can turn it off, but then as soon as I get home, it starts to get worse. So I've been kind of trying to do workouts, and they really feel like a lot because I'm in pain, and I think that makes me super tired, and then I can go to bed. I hope that I keep the sleeping after my leg has figured itself out. But I was actually trying to think of that same thing. Like, why am I sleeping now? Why is this a thing? And it might be that, but maybe it's enough to turn it into a habit, you know? Anyway, I
Yeah,
know it
I mean,
seems,
like, not a bad idea.
yeah.
We need
Yeah.
sleep.
I apparently do too now, and I could not be happier about it. And I know that seems like a small thing, but for me, this is like a huge revelation in my life. Anyway,
Sleep is a big deal. Sleep is a very important thing. It is a big deal.
yeah,
A
so
hundred
that's my
percent.
high.
But you know what, Amy? You're not off the hook either. We're
Okay,
coming to you. First, you know what? Let's start the easy part. Tell us a high that you're going through right now.
sure. I gotta say, I'm really, really stoked right now with my team, my at work. Right now we've got some really good communication, some really good synergy. I've got incredible talent and individuals with great character, and it's just flowing right now, which is super awesome. So that lights me up.
Okay, honestly though, like as a business owner and someone who has a team themselves, and I'm sure Jen can relate, like be super proud about that. That
Yeah.
feeling is like it comes and goes, and I mean like you probably know.
Yeah, absolutely. When you've got it, don't hold too tight because you don't know how
Yeah.
long you're going to have it, but be really grateful when you have it, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So, okay, now here's the hard part. What is your low?
Mm. I would say probably the same low that, it's a work in progress, but time management for me is a big thing. Lawyers are pretty hype on efficiency, and some of them are real hyped on 6-minute increments. So I would say that um, just getting a bit better at time management, so that my free time is really quality time, I would say is a thing. It's very busy, but yeah, that would be a low, I guess. I'd like more time.
Yeah, wouldn't we all, right?
No
Yeah.
kidding, for sure.
Definitely.
Constantly a battle.
Do you have any like things that you're trying to implement as far as time management goes?
Good question. Yes, I think I'm constantly, to probably a little bit to the detriment of people on my team and people in my personal life. I'm always trying to just maximize efficiency. So if I could think that something could be done in a better way or a quicker way, I'm constantly trying to be more efficient so that I can buy more time later to do the things that, more qualitative time that I want. So yeah, I think I'm just always thinking of systems or creating systems or staying as organized as we can, or, give the husband a list of things to buy at the store. Don't expect him to remember it, write it down so that we get there and we're in there real quick and out real quick, those types of things.
I
Yeah.
love that you have home management on there as
Oh,
well.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. For sure.
That's
It's
amazing. Well, I'm sure, have a list of questions that we're going to ask you today just to pick your brain because Jen has nothing but amazing things to say about you.
Yes, yes, I do. And so I thought, I've always admired how you approach leadership. In our time as friends or colleagues, I've come to hear you speak about lots of different interactions you've had with your team over the years in different settings. And so, would you tell us a little bit about how you would describe your own leadership style? Like, describe it in your own words, how you lead.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I would say I'm pretty collaborative, and I kind of laugh because you did tell me about that question ahead of time, and I thought about that question, and my first response was, "Oh, I better call people on my team and ask them what they would say." But your question was in your own words, so that's that's where I might say collaborative. I would say I'm collaborative. I would say that I am lead by example. Sort of, I hope you can watch me do something. I won't just tell you what to do type of thing, coaching, mentorship style of leadership. And I would say that I am fiercely protective. I'm a fiercely protective leader of my of my sheep, my people. Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
So
We
important.
love that.
I'm going to be saying that a lot on this podcast today, I feel like. I wanted to also talk a little bit about values. Uh, I have the distinct pleasure of hearing little snippets of your values in your life, when we're at our meeting every month. And I'm always so taken by the fortitude that you have in your values and how you bring them into so many parts of your life. I think that that's a tough skill. So would you mind just telling us a little bit about what values you have that are non-negotiable as a leader, and then maybe, and this one wasn't on the sheet, but then maybe how you manage to always keep those at the forefront on a day-to-day basis, because I think that's also tough.
Yeah, the values are very simple for me. I look for honesty, integrity, kindness, decency. And I expect that of my people. I expect that of myself. Um, and if you've got those goods, if you've got kindness and you've got integrity, you've got good character, um, I think the rest flows from there. So that's what I look for, and that's what I ascribe to be as a leader, as a human, as a person. Um, what was the backup question you asked me, Jennifer?
How you keep those in the
Mm.
forefront of your life.
Yeah, I think I've just decided. I'm getting older, and in my older age, I've simply decided that that is the foundation for me in my decision making, in my when I'm thinking about how to decide things, when I'm thinking about people, any type of anything, really. I just have to focus on the foundations first, the values first. And um, I've just, I think, as I've gotten older, grown accustomed to stay navigated to that compass, and it makes decisions a lot easier if I just focus on that first. It honestly is easier to anchor to things and make good decisions and be a good leader, or I think to be a better leader, if I focus on those values first and foremost. So that's how I do it. And I think I've been, when I don't do that, when I misalign with those values or where I drift off of that compass, um, I've seen the consequence of that. So it's easier for me, I think, to stay aligned to those values now that I've seen they're tried, tested, and true. They matter to me for a reason. They're not just words um, to me. So it makes it easier, I think, to stay aligned with those values when I see how the fruit of that in my life. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. That makes sense for sure. And I think there's a simplicity that I imagine it requires a lot of discipline when you're first trying to really have the values at the forefront of who you are. But the simplicity that I hear in that, in terms of, not making decisions easier, but just always having that criteria to come back to, like, this is who I am, this is what's important to me, does it fit with that? I think would be so comforting, and I don't know, would help me go with my gut more, to just have a little more faith
Absolutely.
if I really kind of put those things at the forefront of every decision I made.
Absolutely.
Hard
I completely
but
agree with that.
simple. Hard but simple. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, I think, if you're not sure what your values are. I think that's a hard part. But if you know yourself and you know what matters, then staying aligned with that compass is easier, and then making decisions are easier if you just stay focused on those values. It makes life a lot easier. If I find myself to be too scattered, if I start to try to make decisions that are insincere to who I am, makes things way more challenging. So yeah, I like to stick to those things. It makes things way easier.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm going to
If you're in a
try that.
situation where someone's dishonest, it's easy for me. If I'm in a situation where, I feel like, um, yeah, if I just focus on those things, it's very easy to stay the course, I think. It's easier to stay the course if you stay focused on your values.
Yeah. I wonder, um, if you have any advice for our newer entrepreneurs out there or people who are young in their career about how they might expedite the process of getting to know who they are. For me, I had to make a lot of mistakes to figure it out and go through a lot of hard things. Do you think that that's a necessary part of figuring out who you are? Or is there an easier, not maybe not an easier way, but a way where you could get there without the hardships of kind of figuring it out through, mistakes?
I love mistakes, so I probably not. I think you do have to make mistakes. I think you got to fumble your way through. Um, that's, I think, what makes us stronger, smarter, more capable, and gives us a better understanding of who we are. So I don't think we wake up, or once we can finally, once we're 4 or 5 years old. I think I have a 5-year-old. Does she know who she is fully? No. But our job right now is to support her and in what she has identified as what matters to her and the things that matter to her in the inside, grow those things in her. So hopefully, we as leaders in children's lives are helping them understand and know and be confident in their identity earlier on. So hopefully my children won't fumble along as poorly as I did. But I do think those things are good. I think those situations, those experiences, those failures, as we put it, refine our character, help us remember who we are, help us remember what matters. So no, I think those things are important. I've made so many mistakes, but I'm grateful for all of them. I truly am. All of them.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So you talked a lot about, your values and, that's how you know who you want on your team, who you want to work with, who you want relationships with. Law can be traditionally very, I don't know, like rigid, and it doesn't sound like you lead a team that is very like rigid. And I would like, we've all watched Suits, right? Like I think when I when I think law, I think Suits, and that's what it is. But it doesn't sound like that is how you lead. So can you tell us a little bit about, like how you knew you wanted to lead differently than like the stereotypical, law
Mm,
firm?
yeah, I mean, when I joined law, I didn't have any experience in the industry. So, I didn't have family members that were lawyers. I really didn't know what I was getting into, to be honest. Um, so when I was a junior lawyer, I just kind of went with the flow because I don't know any better. But certainly there were things I didn't like, and things that didn't feel right. But when you don't have a lot of experience, you just kind of, well, I didn't. With the lack of experience I had, I didn't have as much confidence. So I just, kind of went with the flow for a long time. I think once I grew more confident in my skills as a legal practitioner, and as you get older, I think as a woman, I don't know, I think as I matured and went through certain experiences, then I came to realize I don't have to do this. I don't have to do it this way. I
Yeah.
don't, I don't want to do that. What made me uncomfortable before that I maybe would put up with evolved into, no, I'm not going to lead this way. To the point where I had to separate though and start something new so that I could do it truly and sincerely the way I wanted to. So that was an evolution.
Yeah, I think it's great that you talked about the confidence, right? Because even going back to your previous statement where like we all need to make mistakes, I feel like your 20s, your early, you're like that's when you just make all the mistakes, right? And then you kind of move into your 30s, your late 30s and your 40s and you're like, "Hang on, wait. I've made these mistakes. Now it's time for me to just hone in on what I'm good at and do it," right? So I feel like, even that is like kind of your journey, right? Like you were new, you were a little bit like unconfident in what you were doing, but now you're like, watch me. Here we go.
And it's funny you say that too, Brittany, because you made me think about something, kind of veers off from your question. But when I started in the profession as a young 20 something, whatever I was, young, I was particularly immature. There were a lot of young 20 somethings that were graduating from law school that were more mature than myself. I had a maturity in some areas for sure, but in others, I was still pretty young and pretty naive. And but the irony is that I was quite confident. I was very confident. And a lot of that confidence was taken from me.
Okay.
And but then I had to get back to that confidence later. So it was almost like there was I would I would suggest that a lot of female lawyers have a similar experience, but where you're brought down to a certain level at a certain point. Like, okay, that's a little too much, lady,
Okay. So then
and you got to bring that down.
have you ever felt pressure to kind of like, I don't know, like harden or soften yourself? Can you talk about that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm sure we all can relate as female professionals. Oh,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. Oh, you're too soft, you're too sensitive. You got to grow a thicker skin, Amy. Um, all of that, too emotional. But then the opposite as well, right? Where those who know me, I'm pretty strong, and I'm assertive, and um, I can apply some assertion when required. But I've been told as a woman, you got to tame that down, right? So you just take me exactly as I am, and you put me in a male body, then I won't piss too many people off. But
Yeah. No,
you
I
put a
mean,
pretty face on it, and just
that's
and,
right. No,
and
but
then it changes.
isn't that kind of frustrating, right? Like they tell you you can't be too nice, you can't be too empathetic, you can't be too strong, you can't be too strong-willed. Like you're like, what do you want from me?
Oh, I know what you want. You want a man, but I can't help you that way.
Yeah.
I'm still a woman.
Touche, touche.
Too
So
too
then,
too too spicy for this podcast.
no,
Not even
no, we
close.
love it. We love it. I mean, I think there's like, as women entrepreneurs, we've all kind of felt that heat, right? Like, we're like, okay, this is ridiculous.
It's like they like you, they love certain whoever they, right? Love
Right.
certain aspects when it benefits, but then the parts that make us women or feminine or might want to, but that's part of who we are. We can't splice some of it off. What makes us who we are is what makes us who we are. You get what you see. So I get you.
Yeah. And I think like we're standing on that, right? Like, I always say, like, it's been a man's world for far too long. It's our turn now, right? Like,
For me,
Even though we run the world, by the way,
yeah,
we all run the women, and I am for sure, I'm a feminist, but I love men, but we really run the world from the background. We really do. We behind any man is like half a strong woman, because you don't need a full strong woman behind one strong man, because we can get so much done.
yeah,
But
exactly. I feel like, yeah, there's like a mile a minute that we move on, right? So you said that you felt the pressure to kind of soften or harden yourself. And so how do clients respond to you, I guess, being like a female lawyer or like, like how are they responding to you being just a little bit more human than like a strict, rigid lawyer, you know?
yeah, so I think our clients are, well, I know our clients are really pleased with our service, and we do really great work, but I think any human being wants to be heard, acknowledged, appreciated, respected, um, and approaching clients as people, as human beings. Um, I don't know anyone who doesn't appreciate that, just being humane and
And Amy,
kind and honest and integral
can
and
you tell
decent.
our audience what law your practice is?
Yeah, I'm a litigator, so a civil litigator. So I don't practice in the area of family or in criminal, but anything related to a civil dispute, we do. Our firm is predominantly in the employment realm, but I would say about 25% of our practice is litigation that's not related to employment.
Okay.
So let's say a business is suing another business, or breaches of contract or torts, or these types of that area of law is what we practice in.
Yeah. No, awesome. And I mean, the human thing, like everyone wants to be heard, understood, you know, that goes a long way because, as my experience with lawyers, sometimes they can be very short
Yeah.
in their speech, right? So,
I want to
Yeah.
ask you a little bit about your history, Amy, because I'm so intrigued by it. And in a lot of ways, I have a parallel story, but maybe even, but different in a lot of ways. So you talked about, some of the things that were taken from you and some of the ways that you had to show up in a traditional large legal firm. And I feel like I empathize with that because it's very similar, or it was very similar in the accounting world for me, before I went out on my own and started my own firm. So I'm interested to know, could you walk us through the decision to leave? Were there any, I mean, obviously there's lots of confidential stuff. So, like high level, like how did you know that it was the right time for you? Was it like the straw that broke the camel's back, or how did you
Okay.
identify like, now this is the time, I'm ready, like enough is enough? Like how did you get there? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, there was a moment for sure. And it was a moment when my family and we came back home from Africa. We were in Africa for 2 months, adopting our daughter. And we came home, and I was on a maternity leave, if you want to call it that, because I was on a leave. I was on an unpaid leave because I was a partner at a firm, and I just got home. We just got home from Africa with a new baby that we're getting to know. And yeah, there were things that were um, decisions that were being made that certainly misaligned with my values, but that wasn't the first time. But it did come to a head at this point where I realized that at this point, if I stay, I am absolutely compromising my integrity. So the decision at that point became very easy for me to leave that business. What to do with that was not easy necessarily, but I knew the rest would follow because I knew was trusting my gut. And my gut said, no more. It's time for change. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I knew my intuition, and my gut spoke loudly. So I knew I had to go with that.
So brave. And I am always in awe of your trust and faith in your instinct and your values, and kind of just trusting that when you choose what's right for you, the rest will figure itself out. I aspire to have that kind of internal confidence and know myself in that way at some point in my life. I'm definitely not there yet, but I feel like I'm working on it. Um so I just wanted to ask you then, what surprised you the most about, and it can be anything, like it doesn't have to be, it could be any one thing, but what surprised you the most about running your own practice? So when you started and you were like, oh, this is surprising, I'm surprised by this. And it could be something technology based, or it could be values based or staffing based, it doesn't even matter. But we've all had those moments where we're like, huh, this is not what I thought this would be like. I'm a bit surprised.
To be honest with you, um, I was surprised at how easily I transitioned into it. I didn't think it would be that easy. Um, it wasn't easy um, by any stretch, but gosh, just doing things the way you want to do them because you feel confident in your decision making and just doing them your way is way easier. And facing the music with the decisions you make makes things a lot easier. So, and the things I was very nervous about, apprehensive about in going out on my own, um, turned out to be the easy stuff. The stuff that I was holding me back were things that ended up being the easiest things. So the things that I think most people would have been concerned about, I wasn't concerned about. So for example, I feel confident in my leadership style. I had a large staff underneath me before that respected me and trusted me. So I felt confident in that. I felt confident in my, my management style. I felt confident in my ability to practice law. The things that made me nervous were like the operational stuff, like, these are things I have people do for me. Now I don't have anybody to do this. I got to learn all this stuff. But then it turned out to be not so hard. The
Yeah.
hard stuff was like the other stuff that we've already got the goods on that we forget because sometimes people make us feel like we don't have it, but we have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a follow-up question to that then. How did your identity change once you went on your own?
Oh, I wouldn't say my identity changed, but I would say that I finally came back. I came back. I've told a lot of people this. It's like I re-entered my skin. I
Okay.
really felt I was coming back into myself again. And there were moments in time where I was realizing, oh yeah, this is familiar to me because I had just sort of forgotten how I did things. I kind of forgot who I was in several ways when, I was very loyal and I had 6 partners. We were 7 partners running a big business and we all have different personalities. We all have different styles of everything, and you're doing your best to sort of work in a group, and for me, that meant forsaking things about myself, letting things go for the benefit of the group or, so going out on my own and then kind of just being like, okay, well, it's just me now. So I'm going to do things the way I would have done them. And then seeing the success, the fruits of my labor and seeing how, and just realizing, right, I don't always get it right, but it just felt so satisfying and so empowering to be myself again, completely, fully myself. So that was an awesome change.
Yeah. Was there anything you had to unlearn from coming from a big firm? You're like, okay, I'm gonna leave that in the dust.
Yeah, for sure. Can I shut my door real quick? My son
Yeah.
just came home.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kids are home. One kid. Um, yeah, I wrote something. What did I say about that? Sorry, where is that? Because what did I say? I remember that one being hard for me to think of, but I did. Did you use the word unlearn?
Yeah, it's under identity shift.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember what I said. Yeah, spicy answer. I
Let's have
yeah,
it.
I had I'm sure you guys love it. I just don't know
Yeah.
who's listening to the podcast. Um, but I just had to completely unlearn what they said, what people told me was required to be successful. This is
Okay.
the mold, this is the image, this is the expectation. And that I had to unlearn that's not true. That's just not true. So I firmly believe that we are all meant to be our true, authentic selves. And if we do that, we will be wildly successful. And obviously, success looks different for different people. And that goes right back to your values, what matters to you, and but what the metric of success is. But I really believe that. And so I had to unlearn that I have to be a certain way or fit a certain mold to be a great lawyer.
I love that. I have a question because in the beginning, I heard you say that your leadership style is very collaborative. And I love that. And I think it's so important. And then, in contrast to that, in a partnership group, it sounded like in order to fit into that mold, you had to give up a piece of who you are as a leader. So, just walk us through the difference in those two collaborations. Like, why does one work so well where the other didn't? I
I
know
think
I've
that
been throwing a lot of stuff at you that I did not prepare you for. So you can be like, you know what? I'm not answering that if you want to.
no, I mean, I think that model, I think a partnership model or, that type of management model, business model may work in certain contexts, but it certainly makes things more challenging because, we all do the whole, what are our values? What's our mission? What's our vision? And we go get together on a weekend and write and have a facilitator and brainstorm and we do all these things, right? But if people don't really buy in, if that's really not what you sincerely believe, then how do we really run this business? So if you're saying, we've decided what our values are, our vision, our mission statement, we've put this together as a business, but that's not really who you are, and you're just forcing yourself to align with something that isn't who you are, that's very disingenuous. So I think it can work, those models can work if truly your partners are sincerely aligned. The problem, of course, is getting to that place, and can we really all be aligned? And I think it's possible if it is possible, it's doable, but it's certainly a lot easier in a smaller group or, the law firm model, the conventional law firm model in general, I don't think is going to sustain itself successfully as the industry changes. So I think you can make it work with others so long as we are sincere and authentic. Outside of that, I don't know.
You
We've seen
know,
Go
so many
ahead, Jen.
businesses
You
fall
got
apart.
something
We've
to
seen so
say.
many
yeah.
we've seen people we've seen it. We've seen it not work. We've seen it work for a while and then out of nowhere 20 years in, you've got someone who's been loyal and then the whole thing. You got to keep communication. You got to stay sincerely married to one another and like a real marriage, and it's hard work.
It seems backwards to me because the accounting profession is like that a little bit too, right? It's like you do all these things that are unrelated to who you are as a person, your values, how you believe you should operate. And if you do all of these tasks, then you get to be a part of this group that's supposed to run a firm based on values. And when you look at the models that are not law, accounting, it's it's kind of like this. I'm a person who loves this and believes in this, and you're a person who loves this and believes in this. Let's get together and do something. Let's make a successful business. Let's build a brand. Let's sell a suitcase. Let's do whatever. But most times when it happens in the entrepreneurial world, it happens the other way, right? Like people meet each other, they come up with an idea, they enjoy working together, they want the same things, and so they go and do it. In your industry, in my industry, it's like do all of these tasks and then you get to join this group that are all trying to lead, but nobody has really decided or agreed to like this kind of weird umbrella that we now are all supposed to stand underneath. And it just seems backwards to me in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm part of a partnership.
Absolutely.
So, and I was part of a partnership my whole like almost my whole career, small ones, large ones, all the things. The smaller one was very much the first kind of thing, and my career has changed and morphed over the years and all of those things, but it just strikes me as odd the way that both of our professions decide they're going to create these partnerships. Doesn't it seem a little backwards?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when you're this young lawyer, especially so for somebody like myself, again, who had no experience in the industry. So I'm just going with the flow. And it's like, okay, well, all right. So what do you do? First, law school teaches you, okay, got to get into a real good firm. Okay. What does that mean? It means big firm. That's what it means. Okay. All right. I better get into a big firm then. That's a first misnomer, which is a total disservice to the students. But in any event, okay, so you go in, you get to big law. Okay, now I'm doing my thing. Oh, what am I supposed to do? Oh, right. Okay, I got to make partner. That's what I'm supposed to do. Okay, so I work towards making partner, whatever that means. Then you make partner. I made partner at 4 years out, which was unheard of at that time. I said to my senior partners, well, what is this about? They said, well, you're really great. We want to keep you, here. We want to keep you plugged in with us. So we're offering you this promotion and we're going to teach you the ropes. I said, fantastic. I didn't learn the ropes. I didn't learn anything about running a business. And not to mention, they don't teach you how to run a business in accounting school or law school or medical school, yet they expect you to come out and run a business.
Yeah.
And you got to have some semblance of business acumen to run a business. Am I right? And just because you went to law school or med school or accounting school doesn't mean you know how to run a business. And that's the saddest part of the whole thing, is you got people here who are, the sad part is you're running businesses with, what is a business? It's people. What is it? You've got people in this business and you're responsible for them, but you don't know what you're doing some of the time. So it's a very backwards way of doing things. Absolutely. If you don't have that entrepreneurial slant, that desire for business, do you really think you should own one? I don't know. Something to think about.
Yeah.
I think not everyone knows how hard it can be, right? And then as you said, you're in your 20s and they're like, "Hey, you want to you want to come run this business with us?" And you're like, "What? Wait, what's going on here?" So, if you could say anything to a woman at a large firm or in a corporate role who feels the pull now to do things differently, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say dream big. Seriously, dream big, and anything is possible. And I mean that. I really believe that in my core. Anything is possible. And
And as someone,
I would say use fear as a tool. Like, we use fear, use it, take advantage of it. Fear is
and
a
as
good thing.
someone who's made this big leap, right? Like you've done it. You're successful. You've done it. What is one question you would tell them to ask themselves before they do it?
What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Let's go. Let's
I
take it
love
by
that.
the balls. Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah,
Take your fear and let's use it to advantage ourselves and those around us.
don't be scared. All right. I love
You
it.
No,
know,
it's okay to be scared. I think it's absolutely okay to be scared. Of course we're scared. We're all scared. But don't be afraid of your fear. Use it. Don't try to hide your fear. Take it. I'm afraid. And let's take that fear and work it. Work with it and move forward in it. Don't allow it to beat you. Work with it. I think it would be unfair to say, don't be afraid. I think, but let's take that and use it. Let's not pretend it's not there. That would be what I would suggest. Does that make sense?
I totally get that. Fear is a great motivator. When I went out on my own, I had one client and I had rent to pay. So I was afraid I was going to be a financial disaster as an accountant, which would be pretty freaking embarrassing. So, the fear of total and utter disaster made me go talk to people I was scared to talk to and go to events I was scared to go to and all the things, right? Like, I totally get that. And when anyone else says dream big, Amy, it sounds Mickey Mouse, but when you say it sounds like a call to action, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was bought in, Amy. I was there with you. I'm like, yes, let's dream big. Let's get it.
Let's do it though. Let's really do it. I mean it, man. We have so much power um, to do good and make change and impact the world around us. We have so much capacity. We're using like this little bit of capacity. So yeah, I want to encourage the strong women out there. Women, just go for it, man. If you can see it, you can do it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's about
Jen,
that
this is
time. Yeah, it's
and
my
this is your
favorite
time,
time.
baby.
It's my top 3 points. It's so hard to pick just 3 from this
I know.
particular interview and episode because there's so many juicy things. So you listeners, you should listen to this episode at least twice. But I would say one thing that I really learned is to figure out who you are, whatever that takes, and what your values are, and stay true to them. And that the mistakes bring you to those values. So that's my number one big thing. The other big thing that I took away from this is collaboration and what it means, like being a collaborative leader and the difference between fabricated collaboration and real collaboration. What I heard was that authenticity is the key piece to that. So being authentic in who you are and who you're collaborating with. And then the last thing, I'm just going to say it again because it's awesome. Dream big, be afraid and use it. If you can see it, you can do it.
Amazing. Well, guys, that wraps up another episode of Ambition After Hours. You know what, Amy? Tell everyone where they can find you. Are you on social media? What's your website?
What is my website? I think it's bassililaw.ca. Yeah, bassililaw.ca. Yeah, we're on LinkedIn and all the social medias. But if you want to reach us, probably best to reach us through the website. Or you can email, and our emails are there, and we'll give you a call back or an email back for sure.
Amazing. Well, guys, you've heard it here first. Dream big. That's all we have for you today on Ambition After Hours. Follow us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram on Ambition After Hours and Apple Music. So until next time, see you later.
Thanks, everyone.
And that's